Good morning students. Today we are going to see Introduction to Euclid's Geometry. So what is the use of learning this geometry and what do you mean by geometry first of all? So they have given a definition for this geometry and they have divided into two parts. One is geo and the other is metron. So what is geo? Geo means earth. So metron means measure. Measure the earth or measuring the earth is nothing but geometry. So while calculating the areas of the individual landowners, say for example, whenever a river overflows and the water comes out of it and erases all the boundaries of the fields surrounding the river, to redraw the boundaries, this geometry will help out. Actually, that's why they have used these geometrical calculations, and these geometrical calculations are developed by the Babylonians, Romans, Indians, Egyptians. These four, all these are used these geometrical calculations to redraw the boundaries of the fields. At the same time, whenever there is a country which is very much developing, in that to draw the parallel roads, to construct underground drainages. For all these things, they have used these geometrical constructions. So for that purpose only these people used these geometrical constructions. But whereas Greeks, they have developed this geometry for the common purpose, for all the purposes which they require. Now, who has given the first proof? Thales is the scientist who has given the first proof, first known proof. There may be many proofs, but first known proof is given by Thales. So what is the proof that he has given? Circle is bisected. Circle is bisected by the diameter. This is the first known proof which is given by a scientist called Thales. And then there is a mathematician Euclid. Mathematician Euclid has given many definitions, assumptions to continue this geometrical concepts. So what are the definitions that he has given? How many books he has written? That we are going to see now. He has written some 13 books, and each book is a chapter. Each book is a chapter. That means in total he has written 13 chapters, and he has named all these chapters as elements. We can say that Introduction to Euclid Geometry, or we can say that Elements of Geometry also. So what are the definitions that he has given? He has given definitions for drawing the area, finding the perimeter, and then he has located some of the things also. One is point and the line and the plane surface and a solid. So what is a point? A dot is denoted as a point which has no area. Which has no area. Then what is a line? A breadthless length. A breadthless length. Then what is a plane surface? A surface which can be extended in all the directions. A surface which can be extended in all the directions. And what is a solid? Solid contains plane surfaces as boundaries. Solid contains plane surfaces as boundaries. These boundaries will meet at so many points. Those points form a line. But unfortunately, he could not define all these three things. So why? Point, he has defined that point has no area, but some of the scientists say that it occupies some area, but as it is negligible area, we have taken it as point is nothing but a dot and it is negligible area. Then what is the line? A line can be extended up to any length in both the directions, but up to what length? That they could not define properly. And plane surface, if you take this board is a plane surface, flat surface which has boundaries. But can you extend this board? We cannot extend it. If you take the floor or wall, whatever it is, all these are parts of plane surface. So this plane surface is not defined properly. That's why we call these three things as undefined things. We call these things as undefined things. So further development of geometry is done by making some assumptions. So these assumptions which doesn't require any proof. That means they are self-evident facts. These self-evident facts, using these self-evident facts, he has developed geometry. What are these self-evident facts? And he has named these self-evident facts as axioms and postulates. So what do you mean by axiom and what do you mean by postulate? So postulate means an assumption made specially for geometry. An assumption made especially for geometry. Then what do you mean by axiom? Axiom is also an assumption or a self-evident fact which can be used throughout the mathematics. Not only for geometry. But whereas postulates are used only for geometry. But whereas axioms are used entirely in mathematics. Let us see what are postulates and what are axioms that he has stated in his books. So let us see some of the axioms, but not in his order. The first one is whole is bigger than part. Whole is bigger than part. A whole you can take it as. See that I'll draw a line segment AB. What do you mean by line segment? Line segment is a part of line and it has definite length. Because it has two endpoints, we can find the length of this line. So we call it as line segment. In this line segment, I'll mark another point C. If AB is the whole length, BC is the part of the length. So which is bigger? The whole length A is bigger than this part. That's why he has given the first axiom is a whole is bigger than part. It's a self-evident fact which doesn't require any proof. And then if two equals are subtracted from another two equals, are subtracted from another two equals, then the remainders are equal. If two equals are subtracted from another two equals, then the remainders are equal. Let us see the example for this. So the example, if two equals are subtracted from another two equals, still the remainders are equal. Therefore, if two things are subtracted from another two things, the remainders are equal. Let's see the third axiom. if two equals are added, if two equals are added to another two equals, if two equals are added to another two equals, then the sum is also equal. If you take the example, let us say there are two things A and B which are equal in magnitude. That means A is equals to B. Comparing magnitude wise, add two same things. I am adding C here and here. Still, the sum is equal. That's what the axiom says. If two equals are added to another two equals, still the remainder is, still the sum is equal. If you take an example, if I take 7 and 7, are they equal or not? They are equal. Add 3 on both sides. 10, here also 10. So sum is equal or not? The sum is equal. The same way, let us see one more axiom. See the fourth axiom. If two things are equal, then their halves are also equal. Let us say, see, 8 and 8. These two things are equal. Then their halves are also equal. So what is the half of 8? Half of 8 is 4. If two things are equal, then their halves are also equal. Similarly, if you want to see what do you call it as variable wise, if x and y are equal, then their halves are also equal. If I divide with 2 on both sides, still the result is same. Still the two things are equal. If two things are equal, then their halves are also equal. Similarly, one more axiom is there. If two things are equal, then their doubles are also equal. See the fifth axiom. If two things are equal, then their doubles are also equal. For example, I have x and y, both are real numbers and they are equal. This is given. If two things are equal, then their doubles are equal. What do you mean by double? By multiplying with 2, we get the double of it. I am going to multiply x with 2 and I am going to multiply y with 2. So 2x is equals to 2y. When you multiply both sides with the same number, still the result will be equal, or you can say that the product is equal. Okay, so these are the axioms that he has stated in his books. And in the next class, we are going to see postulates, what do you mean by conjecture, how did he get the theorem, how to prove the theorem, and all we are going to see. Thank you. Have a nice day.